Welcome to the Best Music Podcast, where we see behind the curtain and discover the hidden habits and success secrets of noteworthy music makers. I'm your host, Dan Spencer, and this week's featured guest is Robin Lane. Robin Lane started out her songwriting career early as the daughter of Ken Lane, who wrote songs for Dean Martin. She's collaborated with members of Crazy Horse and sang with Neil Young on Round and Round. It won't be long on his album Everybody Knows This Is Nowhere. After a 2-year marriage with future Police guitarist Andy Summers, she formed Robin Lane and the Chartbusters, integrating punk and new wave with West Coast folk and East Coast rock. Their rock radio charting song, When Things Go Wrong, became the 11th music video ever played on MTV on its first broadcast day in 1981. Robin is open for artists including John Hiatt, Taj Mahal, Steve Earle, Burnett, and Richard Thompson. She accepted the Boston Music Award for Outstanding Female Vocalist in 1988, and Susanna Hoffs of the Bangles recorded Robin's song Wishing on Telstar for her first solo album, When You're a Boy. Robin also sang on that album. In 2010, Robin founded Songbird Sings, a Shelburne Falls, Massachusetts-based organization dedicated to helping people work through and recover from traumatic experiences by writing and recording their own songs. Her new album, Dirt Road to Heaven, is a collection of Americana music. Robin's motto of "Music is my healing tool" has paved her uniquely uplifting Dirt Road to Heaven process from start to finish. You can find out more about Robin at therobinlane.com and Patreon.com/The Robin Lane. Links to all that will be in the show notes if you're on audio and in the video description if you are on YouTube. Robin, thanks so much for taking the time to be here with me today.
Sure. Why not?
Excellent. Why? I mean, I don't know. I don't know why not. So, Robin, you've had such an incredible career, and you've produced so much music. How do you define success for yourself in music?
Well, I guess when people like your music and like what you do, that's success. I haven't had like the huge success I had wanted when I was first beginning, but defining success is like if you move people to something, towards something better, hopefully, or towards maybe themselves, something that I don't know how you define success, really. Like, what is success? Having a lot of money?
For yourself.
What?
Well, no, but how do you define success for yourself with your music? Like, is it that moment when you've touched another human and you move them towards something better? Is that success?
That's. But I don't think of success in that way. I don't even know that I.
Well, then we could say fulfillment. How do you find fulfillment in music?
By doing it. By playing my songs for other people. The process of writing a song or playing with other musicians, that's fulfilling, as is petting my cat. I think when people like you or love you or are moved by you, that's success, I suppose, and definitely fulfilling for me. I don't know if that answers your question, but
it does indeed. Thank you so much, Robin. What's your number one piece of advice for people who are trying to write songs in terms of achieving a completed song? Like, if someone has the goal of getting all the way from an idea through a completed song, what's your number one piece of advice for that person?
To just do it. Like, sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's easy. If you're having trouble, come back to it later. Take a walk. Like Beethoven used to take walks and come up with his melodies and all that. Jot them down later, I think. But if you really want to write a song and you're having trouble, do something else and then come back. I guess, there's so many different ways of looking at it. But that's one piece of advice. You ask amazing questions like I'm not ready for you. I haven't had much coffee today. Go ahead, Dan. It's all right.
Well, Robin, I figured you'd have so many interviews in your life where people are like, tell me about the time when you blah, blah, blah. It's like you've done those. You've answered those questions. Let's ask you something people didn't ask you already, right?
Wait, cool. I better go get a drink. No, I'm serious. I'm not serious. I have to wake up. All right, keep going, Dan. We'll get to this. We'll get to the place we want to go to, whether we know.
I love it. Oh, profound. I love it. I love the part of whether we know it or not. It's like we've made it to the place and we don't know we made it, and we're sitting there scratching our heads, going, "Have we arrived?
Where are we now?
Where are we now? And have we arrived?"
It makes sense, but it doesn't. But it's okay. It's the duality of our existence.
Love it. Love it. Speaking of duality, what do you think the number one mistake you've learned in your life to avoid when it comes to going after a goal and trying to reach a goal?
Well, I guess it was a mistake. Maybe just not, people get fearful of doing things in this world. And so my mistakes, for the main part, have been maybe being fearful but doing it anyway, and not doing what I was afraid of. So I think that's a mistake. I think if people are afraid of things, and or not finding the right manager. There you go. That's very simple. When I get down to the rock bottom. Okay, yeah. Not finding a manager that would stick with me no matter what, and would realize that I'd never stopped just because I had a child in the midst of Robin Lane and the Chartbusters. That didn't mean my life was over. Or as a woman, my life wasn't over back in 1982 in rock and roll. Unless you were making lots of money. That's my manager, even my ex-manager, said that even later in 2010. He said I was long in the tooth when I began, and I was only 29. Well, I didn't begin at 29, but when I started my band, Robin Lane and the Chartbusters. So I definitely chose the wrong guy, but he did get us out there for a while, so... that was a mistake. Yeah, know what you're doing. In fact, smarten up.
How would you recommend people go about finding out because most of the times, like you say, we arrive at a destination and sometimes we don't know we're at the destination. And a lot of times, I think most of us don't know what we're doing most of the time. Some of us know what we're doing some of the time, if we're lucky. How would you recommend people who are foraying out into the music world go about getting smart and go about figuring out what they should be doing?
Oh my God. You have to have a brain that kind of works that way, that thinks logically, and just take care of yourself. Take care of everything you do, everything you sign. Read it. If you can't understand it, find somebody that will help you understand it. I looked at my old contracts, and my songs were owned for all of the universe forever and ever and ever. Thankfully, these two guys came along later, like in 2016, and got all my copyrights back. And there was this period of time when you could do that. But, geez, no, just be smart. I don't know how you do that if you're not smart. I don't know. I wasn't smart, and I'm still not smart, but I'm smarter than I was, I think, except that, all I cared about was the music. So it was just gung-ho music. But nowadays, kids, I don't know how old you are, Dan, but what
31.
So that's a millennial?
Yeah, I just call myself Dan and leave it at that. But yes, I think technically I am a millennial.
But kids are smarter about things. Kids, younger people these days have had to be smarter. We live in a world where you really have to be smart. And So just take care of yourself. Know what you're doing, but don't let that interfere with your creative process either.
I think that's a really interesting point because, like you say, having that logical brain of, this thing happens and this thing happens and this thing happens and this thing happens is almost counter. It's almost the inverse of having the logical brain and the creative brain. Because the creative brain, it doesn't matter what order things happen in, right? We don't know if we've arrived. It's all about the journey. Whereas the logical brain, there is a journey, there is a destination. It's going to be 5 miles. It's going to take us 25 minutes and it takes us 26 minutes because we might have tried. You see where I'm going with this?
I know it.
Yes, indeed. So, Robin, how do you, in your creative process, and then also in times where you need to use that logic brain, how do you go about switching hats?
Oh, God. You're asking me?
Yes, I'm asking
you. I don't know that I switch hats. I mean, therein lies the rub, of my life. Because if you have somebody taking care of those things, the logical, the right brain part, for you, then you can just stay over here and be creative. But if you don't, like someone like me, and I still don't, my head right now is full of so many things that I can't even, and I have no help. So it's all me. I have to do all this stuff. Well, I have lovely Anna Layton, publicist, but still I have to meet with you, which is, I have to remember that too. She's not just telling me. And I'm happy to meet with you because you're great. Boy, if I was younger, are you married? Great. You should have the best girlfriend in the world or wife.
I do have the best girlfriend in the world. And I say that completely from an objective perspective. It's been scientifically and statistically proven by multiple third-party analysts that I do have the best girlfriend in the world.
Well, she's got the best boyfriend, I can tell. You're amazing. I could just talk to you all day, but then people are watching this and they're thinking, this woman is like, what, I am what I am. And it's kind of like, it's a big bubbly, poppily thing that happens all the time. And I don't know the logic side that well. I try and I try and I try, but it just kind of, whatever.
But everybody always tries to bring you down. Some say that you're crazy, to quote Freddie Mercury. I was just making a joke. That was just a joke.
Crazy. I have been crazy, and I am, and that's okay. Some of it's really good, and I like that. I enjoy my whatever that's called.
And even people who think about the word crazy, a lot of time that's just right brain saying I don't understand left brain.
Well, I wish the world ran on left brain. Unfortunately, we live in a world.
But you can't run things on left brain. That's kind of the problem, isn't it?
But. Okay, so right brain. How do you live in a world that's all right brain if you're left brain? It's like unless you have somebody taking care of all the left brain stuff. So, I facilitate the artist way. Have you ever heard of that book?
Yes.
Yeah, and yes. It's great because it's all about creativity and being creative. Do you hear that train?
Oh, I do. I hear that train coming. It's coming around the bend, and I ain't seen the sunshine since I don't know when.
We have a train in my town goes through. We have the biggest glacier potholes in America here.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and Salmon Falls they're called. Anyway, I love this town is very romantic.
Oh.
So I think I should take a walk. Maybe that'll get my right brain going and the synapses will connect with the left brain, with the rhythm. Take a walk. So it's a good thing.
There you go.
I don't know if you're getting any of the answers that you were looking for, and that's okay. Right, Dan?
You know what? Maybe we're there and we don't know we're there.
Oh my God, you're wonderful.
Robin.
Yeah.
What's your number one piece of advice for people who maybe want to be, and again, the idea of what it takes to be creative? What do you think your number one piece of advice for someone who wants to, let's say, deepen their creativity?
To defend their creativity?
Deepen, like get more.
Don't show it to anybody when it's embryonic.
Oh, okay.
Don't be watchful of it. Take care of it. Do it. But don't show it to anybody until it's done, and then only show it to people that you know are supportive of you. Do not show it to your poisonous playmates or toxic people or your family if they are against you. You know, like you need to protect your artist self and don't worry about it. In fact, in the artist way, she has, Julia Cameron, she has you write morning pages. Just write in the morning when you wake up, write out all your vent. You can vent and write. And then with that, don't show that to anybody either. And then start doing what you do creatively. And damn the torpedoes. Definitely take care of your little egglings, hatchlings.
Robin, how do you balance that out with getting objective feedback? It's because showing it, yeah. How do you balance only showing things to people who you know are going to be supportive, or let's maybe get some more clarity here. Yeah, when you say showing it to people who are being supportive, do you mean people who are going to just be supportive, or people who will be supportive and also tell the truth?
That's a big question. You know, are you going to school learning to be an artist? You know, you're going to definitely get criticism. You're always going to have criticism. So you take it in and you feel it. Maybe there's something important there for you to hear. Maybe there isn't. I don't know. You know, like, it's hard to be judged and for people to not like what you do. So I'm not sure that I have the answer right at this moment for that. Let's say you're writing a song. Let's say you start a band. See, when I started my band, it was great because it wasn't just me that was getting criticized. Not that we got criticized at first. We were in Boston, and Boston pretty much loved us right away. But I'd been lucky my whole life, I think. People liked what I did, for the most part. But then there's always somebody that comes along and tells you you're not good. I just kept going because I was myopic. So if you really want to do something, you just have to, it's damn the torpedoes, you just keep going. But at some point, you probably will want to show it to the world. And then you just have to develop an armor of some sort, I guess. You know, when we were out on the road, like, we were put with different bands. Have you ever heard of the Undertones?
I can't say that I have.
Well, anyway, we were put with bands that we shouldn't have been with, and their audience hated us. And they'd throw ice cubes and lemons and grab my mic and go, "You suck, you suck, you suck." And, you know, but because I was surrounded by these guys that I loved, my band, I was able to be strong. I think if it had just been me, I might have wilted. I'm the kind of person who's wilted a lot, but I've also been strong too. And I don't have the best advice for people for being out there in the world. It's a hard world out there.
I think you have tremendous advice. Well, can you talk a little bit about that moment, like you say, when you've created this artistic hatchling? It's like this little baby bird that you've created, and you share it with someone, and they have something that is constructive, and it's supportive because they're coming from a place of love, right? They want the best for you, and they think something could be better. Could you talk about internally how that feels and how you process through that, and how, when do you decide to listen to them versus say, okay, well, listen, that's just your opinion, man?
Well, it depends on, are they just coming from left field, right field? Where are they? Are they
okay? Let's say they're someone who's been in the music field for a long time, and you respect their music, and then they have a constructive thing to say to you about.
Well, it depends. At this point, it would depend on who they were.
Okay.
If it was Rick Rubin or somebody like that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's use Rick Rubin as an example. I
would totally listen to him and try to figure out how to do what he was suggesting. Okay. If it was Joe Schmo, I have a brain that just kind of turns off when people say things that I don't agree with. On the other hand, I work with my friend and bass player, John Pfister, in his studio, and he will say, oh, this song needs a bridge. And I'll go, oh, okay, all right, maybe I better try to figure out a bridge for it, or maybe not. So I'm open, especially when I'm working with people. I think when I put my band together, I never said much. I just let them do what they wanted to do because it was just very exciting to be playing with them all. But now I do tell people what to do unless they do something that I like. So, I don't know. Is this answering your question at all?
I think so.
I would listen. It depends on the source, Would you listen to... It's like politics, Who do you listen to? Somebody that you agree with? Or you like where they're going or what they're suggesting or not? Is all life political in some way?
I suppose life is inherently hierarchical in all aspects, and politics is just an expression of that hierarchical tendency of categorizing information, I suppose.
Where do you come from? Where did you get a skill? I know you come from New Jersey, but...
Well, I went to 2 music schools. I've got 2 degrees in music. They're back there on the wall. I don't think you can see from this, but wide angle to see. I went to Music Academy Internationale, which is a sister school of Berklee College of Music in France. And then I went to Montclair State University.
What was the last one?
Montclair State University in Montclair, New Jersey. But enough about me. Let's talk about you, Robin. You are what people are here to see, not me.
See, do you prefer to write? After this, they might be heading back to New Jersey.
I don't know. You'd have to climb over the wall. You know about the wall. You know about the wall around New Jersey, right?
No.
It's to keep everyone who's currently in New Jersey, and everyone who's outside of New Jersey, outside of New Jersey. It's a joke, New Jersey. I love you. So, do you prefer to write music after having listened to other music inspiration or like books inspiration, or do you like to sort of clean your slate and write from a clean slate?
Oh, all different ways.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, everything, it's all different. But last night I was realizing, as I was hearing a song, I went back to watching Dexter again because...
Oh, dear. Okay, go on.
There's so many things on that you can watch that I'm just totally confused. And I'm already so confused in my life right now. So, okay, I'll go back to Dexter. Yeah, I know these people. Love Dexter, love those people. But they were at some restaurant, and there was salsa music playing. And, those great bands with all the little parts on the horns. And
yeah.
Wow, I haven't actually actively listened to music in a long time. I will hear things like if I'm watching a show or something and I hear a song, I'll go, oh, what's that? That's amazing. And I'll go look it up. But I don't just turn music on anymore. I don't know why. But then when I hear something, that would be cool to write a song like that. Maybe I should do that more because it would be inspiring. Yeah, sometimes I just get ideas from nowhere. This probably is nowhere. Nowhere being somewhere where I am.
Or is it nowhere? Do we know we're in nowhere? Or will we not know when we've arrived at nowhere?
You're onto something, and whatever that is, then...
It's not, but whatever I'm on, it's not really there, so who knows what's going on.
But I'm going to try to capture it and put it into a song.
Love it. Love it.
There you go. And that's my mind now. When I was younger, I wrote songs. I don't know, they just came out of me, and I don't know where they came from. Totally just flew out. And then when I had my band, I was like, okay, I'm just going to write this kind of music, and I do it, whatever way I could get there. Sometimes one time I was Miss Lonely Hearts in a newspaper, and I wrote the whole story that was going on there. But right now, it's just like I'm plucking things out of wherever we are that's somewhere or nowhere.
Are they really things that are being plucked? Maybe they're not being plucked. Maybe they're being given. Maybe they're just appearing. Maybe they're just manifesting.
You're just the most wonderful, Dan.
Robin,
Dan,
you're also the most
man.
wonderful.
Okay.
Robin, what do you think your number one piece of advice for someone who wants to write music would be?
You're asking me advice stuff. I'm just not a great advice giver, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
I honestly disagree with you, Robin. I think everything you've said today has a lot of wisdom to it and a lot of truth to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the next question? This next advice I have to come up with.
Are you coming up with it, or has it been there the
but you didn't ask me. What was there an actual question?
Yes, there was an actual question, but I thought we were having fun before we get into questions.
We're having fun.
Now that we've had our fun, we'll make our way to the question. So, what's the number one piece of advice you have for people who want to write songs? Besides just go do it, like maybe a little bit more tactical, like should they write lyrics, practice writing lyrics? So they practice listening to melodies? Should they put themselves in a state where they just try and receive ideas? What sort of like actual boots on the ground tips would you have?
Well, my Songbird Sings nonprofit, where I work with people that have had lots of trauma in their life, and they don't think they can write songs, but this is what I do with them. I immerse them at the beginning in a bunch of songs that I know would speak to them and to their heart, and would perhaps inspire them to begin writing lyrics for a melody that I might help them with later, put together with their lyrics. As far as somebody else could take that approach just on their own, listen to a whole bunch of stuff. I think really when you start writing songs, you have your heroes, and you try to emulate them a bit. Nobody just comes, well, here we go to the nothing something again, but you start somewhere. So usually, you're wanting to be like the people that you admire. So you can do that. You can listen, and then just start stealing. Stealing ideas. What did they say? Like, amateurs borrow, professionals steal.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to become, if you're really a songwriter, it's going to become who you are eventually, unless you're a songwriter who wants to write for other people. Then you write those types of songs, and you're in that boundary of those songs, and that's gives you a platform and a way to write. You don't have to go outside of that. But if you're an artist who really wants to express themselves, you have to start at the beginning, and you have to find yourself. And I think maybe you find yourself by becoming, I don't know, I think for me, I tried to write like Bert Jansch was my first one that I loved, and I wanted to be a female Bert Jansch, then I wanted to be Laura Nyro, and then I wanted to be Stephen Stills. I don't think I ever wanted to be Neil because he's so unique. I didn't figure out how I'd have to really start singing in a strange way. But, so I always had these people I wanted to be like, yeah, the Beatles. But not that I ever wrote anything near to the Beatles, but, you know.
Were you more of a McCartney or a Lennon?
Well, McCartney at first, Lennon later.
Yeah. That makes good sense, too.
Yeah.
Or does it?
Or does it?
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't even smoked pot today. And
Well, like, hey, look, and we're having a great time.
I know. This is...
High on life, Robin. We are high on life.
Oh, my God.
So, Robin.
Yes.
What do you think the number one lesson you've learned in your songwriting career around writing songs has been? Like the one thing where maybe it was a block for you for the first year or two, and then you learned to step around that moving forward into the future.
No, I didn't have any blocks at the beginning. I didn't write songs, and then all of a sudden I was writing songs. I actually was pregnant with a child I gave up for adoption. And
pregnant with children and songs. Pregnant with children and songs.
Maybe that's what it was, because it did something where I was just, songs were pouring out of me. So I didn't have any blocks then. Later when I had blocks, well, they can block you. You know, they definitely...
Can you talk about those blocks, like what you experienced and then how you found your way around it or over it or under it, or maybe it was never there to begin with?
No, they were there. They
Okay.
came. That's a crisis when you have blocks. It was for me. My guitar would stare at me and go like, I just dare you to pick me up. and then, you know, I've had so many ups and downs in my so-called career. And after the Chartbusters, you know, nobody wanted to touch me with a 10-foot pole. I was like still writing songs and still playing out, but who would have known unless you lived in New England where I played still. Sometimes with my band, sometimes as a duo, sometimes just me. But, yeah, and I was writing a whole bunch then. But at some point, I was just so hurt by the music business, the business of music, and what had happened to me, which when I got pregnant, nobody wanted to talk to me anymore. The phone stopped ringing. The manager disappeared. The record company, no, the publishing, forget it. The publisher guy, you know, I was talking to him. I was with Janice Ian. I'll never forget this. I was singing on my friend Parthenon Huxley's songs at Universal in L.A., and I was talking to Janice Ian, who was there, and the publisher was there. And she was so nice. And I was telling him that I've got a whole bunch of songs. And he just went, yeah, and he walked away from me, you know. So it was like I was so spurned. And I didn't get that. I didn't understand. Like, wait a second, I'm still the person. But because I'd gotten pregnant, and because I decided to have the child, this is the next child that I got pregnant with, and I decided to have that baby, nobody thought I could do anything in the music business anymore because we hadn't sold enough records, you know. Plus I was probably crazy. Like, you know, it's like, I'm just talking about myself now, but being in a band and my name was attached to it, I always had to give interviews. And I wasn't the person I am now talking to you, Dan. I was a person who wrote songs and was just on that left side of the brain, not really understanding things. So I didn't like giving interviews all the time, every day, you know, and I was tired. You get exhausted out on the road. And I didn't realize how fortunate we were, I think, you know. I did not realize that. But so blocks came and I thought I just don't know. But I remember one night I was sitting in this house I lived in. I know what helped me get rid of blocks was walking. As I keep bringing that up, walking especially in the country where there's real life and real love, like love of clouds and trees and animals and real things. And one night I was sitting there and I just wrote this song that just popped out, and it took away all that other, and it was, I call it, It All Makes Sense. Because all of the things that had happened made sense somehow. Here's another story. One time I was in Golden Gate Park with my friends, Danny Whitten from Crazy Horse and some other people, and we'd just taken all this Owsley's window pane acid, and we went to the first Love-In ever.
I'm sorry, I need to ask a qualifying question here.
Yeah.
You said a whole bunch of words. I understood the acid part, but there's the whole thing like a window. Please educate me, because I'm completely unsure as to what like Owsley's window pane acid might be. So
there's so many stories. So, Owsley was a chemist, and he invented this acid, LSD, called window pane, and it was really potent. And my friend Baby John, who later worked for Neil Young, and he was friends with Danny Whitten, and so was I, who was in Crazy Horse, he had a friend named Susie Cream Cheese, and
of course he did.
We were in Haight-Ashbury, and she sprinkled the window pane, whatever, it was like brown sugar, because I saw it later in Owsley's hand, and she sprinkled it on our cornflakes, and then we ate our cornflakes, and then we walked down to Golden Gate Park, which was indeed golden and glowing, and went over this crest on the hill, and it was the first Love-In, the summer of love, and everybody, you looked out, and of course you were peeking on this LSD stuff, and everybody in the world was there. It was like just a snake of people, like undulating like a snake, like. And there was Timothy Leary in the middle of it. Now Gary Snyder, the poet, going, "This is it. It is perfect. This is it. It is perfect." And loudspeakers, right? The whole world is. And like, I don't know why I'm even telling this story. Why?
It's amazing.
Yeah,
Keep going.
But it was because when I finally, after all the blocks and the people being mean after they thought I was the greatest, like it was just like, oh, this all makes sense. It's perfect. Right where we are right now. So if you're writing a song, just remember that. Like, remember that this might be nowhere, it might be somewhere, but it's perfect for right now. So just let your little bubbles bubble up, write your song, love it to death, and take care of it, and then go out there with your strength. Because you've got it. You do. Everybody has it. Everybody has something. Don't they?
Or do they? Maybe none of us has anything, and it's the universe that holds all.
And what are those balloons? Maybe the aliens they're watching what we do, so they, it's on a TV
I hear the balloons are reading our thoughts.
What?
I hear the balloons are reading our thoughts.
I think they're going to figure out, like, if we're worth it. What's this humanity deal?
The balloons are from the aliens to see if it's worth it for them to come hang out.
Or to, like, forget about us because, like, we don't do anything right. We don't take care of our planet. We've got nuclear bombs. We've got other kinds of bombs. We don't care about human beings. Like, there's enough money.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
But I disagree with you, Robin. Mm-hmm. I hear everything you've said, and everything you've said is true.
Yeah.
And there's also penicillin. And there's also Band-Aids. And there's also hydrogen peroxide.
Yes. There you go. You're totally right. Things are going on simultaneously. Wonderful things, there's love, and there isn't love. And that's the duality. My friend talks about that all the time, that there's two things happening, and so which one are you going to embrace? Where's your thinking going to be?
Yeah, the two wolves.
Oh, yes, the two wolves.
Which wolf will you feed?
Which one do you feed? And sometimes I get carried away. I want to feed the bad wolf because he's so much fun.
He is fun.
Especially when he starts wolfing on other people, like thinking, like, that person. Or that politician. Let's just go there.
Oh, there
Be
you go.
real.
Robin, do you have any other acid stories you'd like to share? Because that was a fun story.
Well, okay, I can just continue with that one.
Yeah, there's more?
Well, it leads into another. It leads back to Owsley.
Okay, go on.
His name's Stanley Owsley. Anyway, I hung out with this band that was famous back then. I won't mention any names right now. That's just too name droppy. I hate that. But those guys, some of them shot up heroin and stuff, and I never did that. And wasn't into that. But I was their little mascot, kind of, and kind of a flower child. Except I really wasn't a flower child. So I was along with them for the ride to find what they were looking for. Why they thought they would find it at Owsley's house, I guess maybe they could have. They weren't acid-taking people, okay? But we get to Owsley's, and I will be dropping the name. Knock on the door, and Owsley comes to the door, stark naked, and he holds out his hand, and he has this kind of brown sugar-looking stuff on his hand. He goes, "Here, take a lick." So I licked it, and maybe
out of his hand.
Out of his hand, yeah.
Okay.
You know, I mean, who would do that now? But yeah,
not me.
It was an
like, do you have a plate?
Berkeley, what?
Well, I'd be like, do you have a plate, a spoon, something?
Yeah. Well, now I might ask for a spoon. Or did you wash your hands?
Yeah, exactly. I think very reasonable question.
What was he doing with those hands? Okay, anyway.
If he comes to the door stark naked,
naked, have a lick.
Okay.
There's my hand. Have a lick. And so then we go into the house, and there is the Grateful Dead, all naked, jumping around on the mattresses were all over the floor. It was a big living room, and they were just jumping around on the mattresses, naked. And then... so that stuff that I licked off of his hand kept me up for days, and I went with my friend. We went down to Big Sur, and we camped out, and we were so high that a Sidewinder snake went by, and we put down our sleeping bags. Who cares about a Sidewinder, you know? Like, we're going to sleep here, and we were up for a few days. It was really fun, but not. I do not suggest it for anyone. My God, if you've got anything going on in your brain that's a little bit screwy, do not ever take those kinds of drugs. Unless you're with, it's a medical situation or... Yeah,
they've done a lot of scientific research on psilocybin now. And one of the big things that Johns Hopkins actually has done a lot of psilocybin research, for PTSD, depression, things like that. And what they consistently say is if you have any history of like schizophrenia or anything like that in your family history, to not go near that stuff, because you go somewhere in your brain and there's things that happened in your brain where it's just like you can kind of cross a wire and burn a wire, apparently.
Can I look that up?
Oh yeah, Johns Hopkins. They got white papers and everything. It's all published.
What do you look up with Johns Hopkins?
Johns Hopkins psilocybin.
Okay, because that had, before that, when I first took acid, and I was a young person, and I had no idea what was in my family, the DNA code or anything like that, and I had some problems. Yeah. So thank you for that, because that explains me now. Oh my God, Dan, you're the best. How do I get to know you? You're just fantastic.
Robin, you're just fantastic. You're also the best. We're going to be co-best today. How about that?
Okay.
We'll be co-best.
Co-best.
Well, Robin, those are all my questions for you. Do you have anything you'd like to talk
Those
about?
are incredible questions. I maybe I shouldn't have known what they were in advance. That's good, because I didn't. And, but, yeah, do I have any questions for you? No. I mean, yeah, like, oh no, for you, just like, be yourself, be who you are. You're just, and your girlfriend, you may be lucky, but she sure is. And, invite me to your wedding if you get married.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. If we do a big public thing, you will be invited. It might also just be us going to the courthouse. Don't tell her mother.
Oh, my daughter is a fantastic, she likes to call it elopement photographer. I mean, she's like brilliant, like so gorgeous. Her photos are like beyond, they're not like regular, traditional, they're just gorgeous.
Well, tell the people, where can they find her on social media? What's her website?
Oh, what is it? Evangeline Lane Photography.
Evangeline Lane Photography, ladies and gentlemen. Check it out.
Evangeline Lane Photography. I think you can get there that way. So where do you live again? Where are you coming from?
Well, I'll tell you what. I live in Dover, Delaware. But what we'll do is we'll wrap this up, and then you and I can have a little chat.
Okay.
How about that? You can ask me all the questions you want.
Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Robin Lane. Robin, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. You can check out Robin Lane at therobinlane.com. That's TheRobinLane.com. And Patreon or Patreon, however you like to say it.
Patreon.com/Robin Lane. Join me there.
Excellent. And we're going to put links to that in the video description if you're on YouTube and in the show notes if you are on audio. Robin, thank you so much for taking the time to come speak with me and hang out with me today.
Thank you for having me, Dan.